In every war, there are casualties, and in the ongoing war on cannabis, there is no difference. While Caribbean governments fight the war on marijuana in the name of protecting its citizens, there are those who claim that the plant is necessary for their existence and well-being. These innocent bystanders are left to pay the price.
It's unethical to deny any patient or group of patients access from medicines which can effectively treat their conditions. We have seen reasonable evidence and strong evidence in for some indications where formulations of medical cannabis can treat conditions which are considered to be pharmacoresistant, right, to other classes of drugs.
Among the groups of persons affected by the prohibition, there are those who use the plant for medicinal purposes and those whose religious practices encourage the herb's use. Like the Rastafarian community, a group who has for years sought the legalization of cannabis as its use is integral to specific rituals and beliefs within their religion.
Cannabis serves as Rastafari's sacrament, very much as wine serves as a sacrament for religious purposes in the Christian church. Right? It is a sacrament, so in that way it is sacred, and it is really quite about time that Rastafari become allowed to exercise the constitutional right to freedom of religious observance through the use of cannabis.
Some Rastafarians cite biblical verses to highlight why they should be allowed to use the herb.
The very first chapter in the very first book of the Bible, which this Christian society says it is founded on, tells you, behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed. To you it shall be for meat. This should be your food. And we're told also in the Bible of the fact that this herb growing by the rivers of water is for the healing of the nations.
Unfortunately, with its prohibition, many within the community place themselves at risk of incarceration in order to fully practice their religion.
It doesn't make any sense to say on one hand, listen, we recognize that this is a plant that can do good for you. It can heal you. It can save your life. But on the other hand, we can still lock you up for it. There's no logic in that.
Another affected group consists of persons ailing from various debilitating and sometimes fatal illnesses. In fact, there is evidence showing that cannabis and cannabis-related remedies have been used throughout history to assist with illness. While some societies of old have employed cannabis as a natural remedy, modern governments are still struggling with questions of ethics, legality, and morality. And unfortunately, while the debate rages on, many are left suffering.
Cannabis came into the developing and developed world based on practices which would have emanated 3000 BC, where it was used for all different purposes, medicinal, recreational, religious purposes. But as Barbados moved towards establishing a medical cannabis industry, we assume that the legal framework and environment will be better developed, right, to allow persons locally who need access to medical cannabis to access it without the fear of victimization, because they might be seen as persons who may want access for cannabis, not for medical but for recreational purposes.
While the ailing seek relief from their pain, the laws surrounding the prohibition of cannabis has another lasting impact.
The prohibition of cannabis in Barbados and the region is something that does not have obvious benefits to anyone. Okay, it leads to the gangsterization of the use of cannabis, and it creates a whole criminal class associated with the movement of cannabis within the region. Once you have a quantity of cannabis more than maybe a pound, it's a valuable product. Could be as much as 50,000 Barbados dollars or 20,000, depending on what weed, what strain, and the need to defend it is there, and people have guns to defend it. I don't know how, you have to put it directly. People that sell weed or any drug will want to have guns to protect it, and they use those guns. And the police therefore have to be armed, and they have to fight against each other and against their competitors, and people are killed and hurt and things, so that a fella could enjoy a spliff on a Friday after work.
Cannabis is often illegally used as a recreational drug. In some Caribbean countries, young men who engage in the casual and totally recreational use of the herb run the risk of jail time.
Some groups are more targeted, likely to be targeted for crime more. So people in the lower economic bracket are going to be targeted more. Males are going to be targeted more. The conviction rate for those groups is also higher than people from higher echelons. And they also have less access to good counsel, with some exceptions. So they're obviously going to be struggling more. Largely speaking, if a person has a small quantity of weed and they're not doing harm to anybody else by virtue of having that small quantity of weed for their own possession and use, they're not a problem to the society. They're no more a problem than someone sitting at home sipping rum, which is our beverage of choice since we make it and been making it for hundreds of years. So.
Conviction of a crime such as drug possession can have a lasting impact. An impact on the family, an impact on the society and the region as a whole. Do we accept this as the way it has to be? It's time for an honest discussion.